Let's go!
This has been a relative, like, huge topic that I've been getting pinged about like crazy over the past few days, and I talked about it a bit yesterday to sort of go over the overall reaction to it. And it's Capcom's absolute astronomical buffoonery coming to in regards to their new DRM. As most people are conceptualizing it as new DRM that is retroactively affecting like a whole bunch of games. And yeah, on the surface level, yeah, people are saying it's malware, people are saying it's all this. I got told this by like Simmons, and I was like, oh, I heard about that, like what is it? And he started describing all this stuff to me. I'm like, that sounds really bad. And there's a couple of things in there that are weird, right? Capcom going and banning or sending copyright strikes to somebody that had some mods on their YouTube channel. And I was like wondering where this all stemmed from, because as he was describing stuff to me, and I'm like, that's no different than what's been happening for like 5 years. What I was being described to as was like, yeah, them actually going after somebody with mods on YouTube was definitely very weird. A ton of people still run mods, right? We're playing an entire version of Monster Hunter World that has mods, and the game has no anti-systems built into it for that, much less people still run a ton of mods on Street Fighter and Marvel and a billion fighting games. I was starting to look into this, where it's like, this is making huge news, right? This is like, oh man, like Capcom going back to their older games and retroactively sticking in shitball DRM, and it's like ruining the experience. It's like, okay, all right, yeah, that's pretty bad. And then you actually start looking into it. And I have a couple of stories for you guys. Everyone thinks that this is stemming from like the Chun-Li mod. What I have is the actual news for you. What I do have to say is that I am the last person. Capcom's like my favorite company ever, but I'm the last person that's a Capcom defender. I'm a notorious Street Fighter V hater the entire existence of the game, and constantly was at the behest of Capcom of like, you know, hopefully be positive about this game. No. I had problems. I had problems with MVCI. I had problems with Street Fighter Cross Tech, and we always made this shit painfully clear, and we always made videos about things that are like obviously stupid, like $15 turtle costumes and stuff. For the longest time in the mid-2000s, the Ultra Capcom hater was an Ultra Capcom hater, which is what I get for being a Capcom fan. So what I would like to tell you is that this massive DRM thing that seems to be happening right now, where they're literally injecting malware into your computer, banning you at the even sight of using mods, all this stuff, is complete horseshit. Capcom's just operating the exact same way as they have for like 5+ years. Who are the people that could actually tell you this way better than I can? The people making mods. There's a couple of stories that came out from some people that are actually some of the most successful modders that have ever existed in the space. First one is Fluffy. If anybody doesn't know what the Fluffy mod manager is, I've been hearing that name since like, I don't know, like 2015, 2016 or something like that. The Fluffy mod manager has been used for like a billion things, right? And constantly had to be updated, and constantly is going through the process of Capcom removing the mod and then re-adding it and all this goofy bullshit, right? So anyway, a couple things here. There's a bunch of news stories about Capcom recently patching in Enigma protection to ARIA Revelations and other games to prevent modding, with many people speculating this was done to as revenge of the Street Fighter 6 Naked Chun-Li thing. We already got a very good topic. Will make its way to the front page of a ton of news sites, right? News sites are gonna hear that and be like, damn, people gonna click on this shit. Longer summary below. First of all, there's some context. Yeah, the Street Fighter 6 tournament, yeah, we know about that. 2 months later, Capcom held an RE Engine conference, and they talk about their anti-theft, anti-piracy stuff. Yes. We just talked about that. It's disappointing to hear their overall stance on modding, right? Because before they've kind of been no harm, no foul, like kind of about it. But that video aligns pretty well with Capcom's actions in the past year, and they have occasionally sent DMCA takedown notices against nude mods and other videos showcasing things like nude mods. They've added more layers of protection to their games overall, an attempt to make it harder to crack and cheat. From a modding standpoint, these protections are annoying to deal with, but they've never been major obstacles. From a cheating standpoint, I'm not sure what Capcom is doing. Their attempts to prevent cheating have been pretty lackluster. So fast forward to like a few days ago, news sites everywhere, Twitter's blowing up, Capcom is a piece of shit. Like, okay, let's look into it. So they patched RE Revelations some days ago, and the patch wasn't in a good state. It was bad. Capcom withdrew the patch so they can address the issues. There was immediately problems. This person didn't try the patch themselves, but people reported worse frame rates and stuff like crashes. Another user noticed the game now has Enigma protection, which is another form of DRM. And people started putting 2 and 2 together, which resulted in a lot of folks assuming that the problems with the patch must be related to Enigma. So since they added Enigma as a method to prevent all mods from working due to the Chun-Li scandal is where the interpretation is. They added Enigma, Chun-Li was naked, they're pissed, and they're coming after your mods, all right? Let's actually go to the reality of the situation. Here's a bunch of reasons why the theory is bullshit. Capcom has been sticking Enigma into their games for fucking years, dude. RE5 got it last year, Street Fighter 6 beta had it a couple years ago, Ghost Trick has it, a bunch of other games have it. I have not seen people repeat worse performance issues in other games or major glitches as a result of Enigma. We don't have a reason to believe that Enigma was the cause of the performance crashes or the issues in general from the new Revelations patch, and said Revelations patch was taken down. Enigma only affects mods in really specific ways. It doesn't affect file mods, which are pretty much like almost all mods. It does not prevent memory from being poked at. Its primary obstacle with Enigma related to modding is that it's harder to attach a debugger. It prevents certain code changing mods from loading, but there's a complete workaround. Technical details on how to get around it can be found here. From what I understand, so Enigma isn't like a new thing. And for anybody that is like kind of unaware, Capcom sticks like de novo on almost all of their big games. Anybody that's familiar with that, it has a significant performance hit. So yes, like whenever a new Capcom game comes out, there's big issues. Anybody remember Resident Evil Village? Tons of problems related to the DRM of that. They eventually fix it later on, but fans actually fix the DRM problems in that game. However, I have heard that the de novo license can be expensive, so they remove it later on and then actually reattach a different form of DRM, which could be Enigma, later down the line, and then that one is actually a cheaper licensing fee potentially. I don't know. That is the only reason why they would retroactively go back and add DRM back to games outside of them removing it before when the game isn't as popular. So, moving forward, Capcom has shown anti-mod behavior in the past years, just in general. For instance, with the various layers of protections added to RE Engine, I don't think it's specifically to target mods, but overall an attempt to combat piracy and cheating. This is nothing new, and the effects of this that have been had on modding are pretty small, and their actual attempts at blocking mods have been relatively tame. Capcom isn't anti-mod at all, really. They're relatively anti-piracy. Capcom has occasionally taken down mods with nudity in YouTube videos showcasing modded nudity. I know they've been doing this since at least 2019, so the Chun-Li scandal is not the first time that we've witnessed naked pixels in their video game chicks. That said, their attempt to combat these have been pretty sporadic. Somebody on YouTube got striked for using mods or some shit. I'd like to mention somebody else that also got striked for Capcom for something that maybe they didn't deserve, and it's me. I almost got my entire YouTube channel removed just for talking about Street Fighter V because Capcom accidentally released Street Fighter V information early. They almost took down my YouTube channel and multi-striked my channel in 2014. Somebody in Japan could just be having a bad day and they just like pull the trigger on your ass. And then eventually you have to like find somebody to plead your case to, and hopefully that might get reversed. And that's exactly like what I did. So anyway, I'm not even like outside of the protected zone. People in Japan just have no idea. People don't know about this shit at all. There's an image that's been floating around showing Enigma triggering several different virus alerts on Virus Total. This scan doesn't seem to have been made with a Capcom game exe with Enigma. He tried scanning 2 games themselves, and the results are pretty clean. I should note that there are false positives with specifically virustotal.com. And they're unfortunately common, and I wouldn't be surprised if Enigma helps to generate false positives as it packs executables and obfuscates code, sometimes can raise alarms with a virus scanner. And as a general pro tip, don't run EXEs from the internet unless you fully trust the source. De novo and stuff like this can usually proc weird antivirus stuff, and a lot of this was done with a specific antivirus that is kind of sensitive to this shit. Is Capcom installing malware on your computer? No, you apparently got rage baited by something you saw on Twitter. Some people are claiming that Enigma makes it impossible to run the game on Steam Deck, but there's no actually evidence of that. However, you can easily see evidence showing the opposite by searching of footage for games with Enigma running on Steam Deck, like RE5. My personal theory is that Capcom started to use Enigma as yet another layer to their games, most likely as an attempt to prevent piracy, and maybe they have a policy to add it to most of their games moving forward. Again, Enigma might be cheaper than de novo. De novo is not cheap. So most of the time, Capcom's de novo games, they just lose it. They just drop it over time. And that game might get Enigma later on because it's cheaper. We got no reason to believe Enigma was behind the problems with Revelations patch. And vast majority of mods still completely work fine with the games that even have Enigma protection. If people want to be upset about actions that Capcom has done, be upset about this incident where they struck copyright against a couple of YouTube videos that were showing innocuous Monster Hunter Rise mods. And of course, yes, that is the #1 thing that is like, yeah, that sucks. If they were going after all of them, holy shit. But like a couple of them, you clearly got the eye of somebody in Japan that you just pissed off on one day. That's messed up, and it's something Capcom should fix moving forward. And while it's disappointing to hear that RE Engine conference and Capcom's stance on mods is changing, they haven't done anything substantial to prevent them. And there's no indication of that changing. Some more information. I saw other modders note that Capcom will sometimes switch out de novo for... We just talked about this. They'll switch out de novo or Enigma for the other. For instance, the RE4 engine, RE4 demo had the Enigma protection, but the full version used de novo. Ghost Trick had de novo removed, and then Enigma added. So it looks like Capcom is going to plan this of using de novo for what a game is new, and then eventually switch it out for Enigma. So straight from the horse's mouth, this is also, you know, one of the most prominent modders in the scene. This news is not news that people are talking about now, because there were several other people that were talking about it, and now the majority of this story is being treated like it's complete misinformation in terms of like where the story originated from and how it was like sort of presented. And a lot of people are assuming, because of what they've recently said about their anti-cheat policies, that this is a direct result of it. No, it seems like this was just like rage bait. Potentially where this was coming from, which was maybe even just a thread on Reddit or like a post on Steam or some shit, might just be rage bait. Like, let's just get everyone super mad about something and get some clicks so that they'll get more follows or viewers. Funny enough, this like makes its way to Polygon and shit. Darkside getting hit by, you know, this shit on YouTube is genuinely fucked up. If we want to talk about some shit, them getting copyright strikes for mods, even though it's not a lot of people, is genuinely bullshit. So that hopefully isn't, you know, the case. I'm not specifically defending Capcom here. We're just looking at what's actually happening. I hope that this shit with Team Darkside and, you know, the couple of YouTube strikes regarding some mods, that should go away. That's kind of bullshit. Obviously, their take on mods overall, their new vernacular when it comes to their approach to mods and anti-cheating, anti-piracy stuff is a little rough, but is there any actual direct effect so far from that? Zero. Nothing has changed. All the mod managers still work. All the RE Engine shit still works. Everything literally is operating exactly the same, except a news story about some crazy shit with Enigma just came out, even though Enigma's been around for years. Really don't want this to come across as me defending Capcom in any way, because again, I'm one of the biggest goddamn Capcom whistleblowers. When they fuck up, I'm like, I'm pissed. I am not happy about this shit. But this is much less dramatic than it seemed, right? This is much less dramatic than like a Nintendo coming after people for even talking about an old game or an old fan game, or, you know, people them going after Smash Melee tournaments or any weird shit like that. My apologies if this is bad news, and I'm sure when this eventually goes on YouTube, people are still going to be dedicated to being pissed off. I understand. However, I don't think it can't. I don't think it can't not change. For example, Capcom is getting much bigger than they ever have been. So ultimately, you know, the size of their company is growing. They're going to want to protect their intellectual properties. Their anti-piracy measures might actually increase significantly over time. But as of right now, shit's the exact same that it's been for like the last 5+ years, dude.